Look, what's the timestamp? 50, let's call it 54:21. 54:21 transfer news. Keep your thoughts, opinions, all those things across your Twitch and YouTube coming, folks. But yeah, man, let's get into things. Again, we've been linked with Jorginho. I'm pretty sure we've spoken about it at length. You lot have your own opinions. Keep them flowing, people. Now, I'm sure a lot of you saw Arsenal consider move for Chelsea star Jorginho as an alternative to Moise Caicedo, with the Gunners worried they could damage their relationship with Brighton if they make a third bid for the Ecuadorian midfielder, people. Arsenal switched their attentions to Chelsea's Italian midfielder Jorginho. They fear making another Moise Caicedo bid may dent Brighton's relationship. Once again, we have switched our attentions to Chelsea's Jorginho in their search for a new midfielder. As you can see here, Brighton have confirmed the midfield signing 19-year-old. We don't know if he's a like-for-like replacement, any of that, but it's hard to ignore. It's right there. Sources have indicated that a deal for the Italy international to make the short trip across London is still at its very early stages. However, work towards the transfer has started, with a clear feeling that an agreement is possible ahead of the deadline. Chelsea are open to selling Jorginho, with the midfielder's contract expiring this summer, while the potential arrival of Enzo Fernandez would push the former Napoli man further down the pecking order. Arsenal spent the day deciding whether to make another bid for Brighton's Caicedo. The news comes as Arsenal spent the day deliberating whether to make a third offer for Moise Caicedo, and mid fears they could damage their relationship with Brighton if they submit an improved bid. And I hear that, because you damage your relations, that could harm future movements and things we need to do. But at the same time, we're not their brethren. Do we want the player or not? Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty to live clean, and Brighton are not our brethren. We could say look after us because we got Benjamin White off you, we got you a FIFA Trossard, but Brighton only owe loyalty to what they're doing. They're not our brethren. Do you want the player or not? We'll have to know. Arsenal have a good relationship with Brighton. The club successfully signing Ben White from the Amex Stadium in a deal worth 50 million ahead of the next season. Indeed, there's an acknowledgement behind the scenes at the Emirates that as much as they want Caicedo, they don't want to disrespect the South Coast club. Given the Seagulls have made abundantly clear they have no intention of selling. I mean, nobody wants to sell good players, God forbid. But if Madrid started sniffing around Saka, we wouldn't want to sell him. But there comes a price where everyone's got a price in this life, really, from a footballing sense. Given the Seagulls have made abundantly clear they had no intention of selling the Ecuador international, there's a recognition a further offer may strain relations, of course, because we're making it tougher for them to keep hold of their players and strengthen, them to do what they're doing in the Premier League, where they're in a good league position. They had a league high last season, and they want to do better. You look at Brighton, they have got a good remit, but there's no point being a selling club for selling reasons. There has to be a means to an end, and you'd imagine Brighton are progressing to one day maybe where they're holding on to the McAllisters, who probably goes in the summer, Caicedo, who will go within the next year, and all the other players they've historically let go. More Chelsea fans, big up yourself, Jose, because you're always here. But more Chelsea fans help praising us for Jorginho. But nonetheless, as a result, the Gunners have started analysing alternatives, with Chelsea midfielder Jorginho emerging as their preferred option. Leicester's Yuri Telemans and Everton's Amadou Onana among the players they've also explored. They also held a tentative interest in Weston McKennie, who is joining Leeds, probably been confirmed now. Having failed with their original offer of 60 million for Caicedo on Friday, the Gunners tabled a new bid worth 65 million plus a further 5 million add-ons. I mean, the only thing I think you could criticize with Edu is the fact that we failed to get a midfielder in, the fact that we've kind of left it late, and the fact of when we're doing this, and the fact of, as much as I like Caicedo, he's played 40 or 40 odd times for Brighton, played only 20 odd times in the league. Once again, played more times for his country than Brighton. But you can't say he's lowballing. You can't say that's not a very good offer. Now, Brighton don't want to get rid of him. As the article just said, they've sold Benjamin White for 50 million. They've sold a number of other players as well, people. So their cash reserves are probably rich. It's not like they're struggling through years of doing the wrong things and that's one of their assets they can make bread from. It's not really that. I'd say for me, it's more, what are the alternatives now? Because you should be able to find someone of the Moise Caicedo remit. Maybe his age is irrelevant because he's Premier League proven, because he obviously ties into what, kind of Lokonga away from ability, being his age and his profile and things. Prior to the new offer, Brighton were adamant they did not want to sell the Ecuadorian, and their stance has not changed. The Gunners realised they have to move quickly with the transfer window shutting on Tuesday, hence their decision to explore a swoop for Jorginho. I mean, you look at City, they walked away from Jorginho upon the time, they walked away from Chilwell. They walked away from several players, really and truly. Cucurella, they've walked away from Harry Kane. They've walked away. You have to be able in this life to walk away. The Gunners realised they have to move quickly with the transfer window shutting on Tuesday, hence their decision to explore a swoop for Jorginho. Once again, Brighton are adamant Caicedo is not for sale, but sources have indicated that an offer of table. If any third bid to Caicedo is rebuffed, then sources close to the deal have indicated that the Gunners will seriously consider moving on to other targets, people. And obviously, Arteta wanted a midfield signing, so we'll have to see, really and truly, in that regard. This is funny because what to all the money they had to spend on the guy who's gone to Chelsea? Not a clue, man. But again, it's a bit different because I hear you, because you could put a bit more. The City walked away from Maguire once upon a time. We've had to find alternatives as well. I hear you, but maybe they think this is a fair offer. As Arsenal have shown, they will bid. They won't go past a certain point, rightly or wrongly. Maybe they feel this is a fair offer. Maybe they don't feel he's necessarily worth as much as they were going to commit to Mudryk. Maybe they don't want to a degree. Maybe it's irrelevant because they don't want to sell him. Obviously, if he was to bid 100 million rightly or wrongly, which would kind of be silly for Caicedo at this moment in time, one day in hindsight that will look silly. It would probably be irresponsible. So we'd have to really see, people. It all depends where you read, because after that, it said Arsenal are confident they will bag 75 million Brighton star Caicedo, but still plan to make a summer move for West Ham's Rice in the summer. Arsenal still hoping. I mean, you can be hopeful, you can be confident, you can do all these things, but dot I's, cross T's, get people doing medicals. Arsenal are still hoping to land the last gasp deal for Moise Caicedo ahead of the transfer deadline, but whatever happens with the Brighton midfielder will not affect Arsenal's plans to sign West Ham captain Declan Rice this summer. I mean, hopefully you've got alternatives, because in an ideal world, you get Caicedo and Rice, but if you don't, you need other guys, even if you get one of the two. The Premier League leaders have been given the green light by owner Stan Kroenke to get the Caicedo deal over the line. That is even if it means paying a club record fee. They've already had 2 bids rejected by Brighton owner Tony Bloom, who maintained that the 21-year-old Ecuador international is not for sale at any price, but they are ready to make one last bid to persuade the Seagulls to cash in and are willing to go as high as 75 million. Well, they said they wanted 80, so that's going to get thrown out the bin, isn't it, really? It all depends how much can Caicedo burn bridges, how good are his agents, and how good of a negotiator is Edu. Arteta's clearly done his part, probably indirectly or directly to Caicedo's agents, and Chelsea probably done the same, to his agents or to him directly, how he'd fit in the team. But it's now down for the guys in suits at the club. So we'll have to see. The Gunners noted that Brighton have just signed a potential replacement after agreeing a £5.25 million deal for Swedish under-21 star Yasin Ayani from Axona. Apparently, Arsenal refused to take no for an answer. Suggests talks could go to the wire tonight after Caicedo submitted an official transfer request on the weekend. Allegedly, they also believe Roberto De Zerbi is coming around to the idea of selling Caicedo after he said, "I'd like it if he could finish the season with us, but we are ready to go forward without him." I mean, we could just be doing what we did for Mudryk, softening up Brighton for Chelsea to come in and mess up the base. We all know Caicedo is seen as a key figure in their hopes and quests of signing other players that fit the remit and also qualifying for Europe, people. So if anyone's equipped to deal with a departure, it's Brighton, in it, but who knows? Apparently, Arsenal are exploring a move for Chelsea's Jorginho. As said, Arsenal among the clubs exploring a possible move for him before the deadline day. We are light in midfield. El Nene is injured. Arsenal have expressed an interest in him. There are other names thought to be in the mix, but with transfer deadline just over 24 hours away, Arsenal are aware that time and options are running out. His contract at the Stamford Bridge expires this summer. Obviously, he's 31 years of age. Chelsea are pushing, obviously, to sign Fernandes, and they will probably change in my opinion, their tune and go for Caicedo as well. You can say what you want about him, but if we're trying to be title winners and stuff, there's probably a pedigree Jorginho could afford to give to Arsenal. He's won the champs in the Europa League. He's also won the Euros. So he had an all right time at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal's previous bid was rejected for Caicedo, as discussed, people. Apparently, Jorginho, been told that he is close to Arsenal because Gallagher won't join Everton. The deal with Gallagher was close to be off. Chelsea wants to sell Jorginho instead of Gallagher. Gallagher has long-term value at the club. Jorginho doesn't. Matt Laura said, always been the case that Chelsea would listen to an offer for Jorginho this month. So that must be something that's been private knowledge in the footballing world. If they get a midfielder in, the expectation is he will leave, whether it's tomorrow or end of the season. So it'd be wise to get some money. Arsenal would make a lot of sense. Obviously, Mikel Arteta apparently is understood to be a fan of Jorginho and appreciating his skills. This is why he is a concrete name for the final hours for Arsenal. But Chelsea want a significant fee to let him leave. That was a follow-up tweet to when he said Arsenal approached Chelsea for Jorginho. It is now an option in case Caicedo deal won't go through, with Brighton still reluctant to sell. Chelsea are open to sell Jorginho, but will ask for an important fee to let him leave 6 months before the end of his contract. Has there been any follow-up tweets from Fabrizio Romano? Well, I mean, just all on the rivals, isn't it? Really, Chelsea are trying to get Enzo, Pedro Porro's off, then it's on, then it's off, then it's on, then it's on again to Spurs. No Arsenal in for Jude Bellingham. Right, Isco, that's a falling off team. What team is that? Jed Spence, Meady Donny. But anyways, Fabrizio said Arsenal are still working on a deal for Caicedo. There are no talks with any other players. This was at 4:12 p.m. UK time. Obviously, in the hours that have flown, it's come out. We're looking at Jorginho, people. So we'll have to see. Stan Kroenke allegedly has been given the go-ahead to make has given Arsenal the go-ahead for a third bid for Caicedo. Apparently, Chelsea are demanding 15 to 20 million for Jorginho. Arsenal will now decide what to do, as they also have other targets. Let's cut out. You might as well. Well, Leicester, if they weren't in a relegation, but it might be something different. I'm not against Jorginho, but let's cut out still. Let's cut out. And again, every outlet is speaking about it, people. So it's not anything new here. Earlier today, reports in Ecuador said, according to whatever publication from Ecuador, there were talks between Brighton and Arsenal today, and they are very advanced talks, and part of the purchase value is the most complex, but there are agreements and they can reach a decision very soon. So again, until you agree a fee, it doesn't matter, people. Nothing has happened today. Been told no new offer from Arsenal so far. The player is still waiting for the green light. Last offer rejected from Brighton, 70 million all in. Could become a crazy deadline day. He wants to join Arsenal. What are you saying, Mesut Ozil vibes? Please, man. It's the dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. It's the hope that kills you. There's been talks between Brighton and people and Arsenal today for Caicedo, which are well advanced. The purchase value part is the most complicated, but their agreements, they could reach a decision very soon. Again, no one knows who's credible and all of these things, people. It doesn't seem like there's any other update. Shout out to everyone who keeps us updated. Sociedad are adamant Martin Zubamendi will stay this window. The midfielder was linked with Arsenal. Gunner's still hopeful of Caicedo deal if Brighton can bring in a replacement. So who knows? Telemans would be open to a move late in the window, but 90 Minutes has been told that if Leicester were not in a relegation battle, they may consider allowing him to leave. However, sources insist it would take a huge bid to even consider parting ways. Surely you might as well offer them 20 million. Because at least there's longevity and resale value in Telemans. And apparently we're considering a late bid. And maybe we've had so many options so that we've tried to do too much. Who knows, people? Arsenal are still hoping to land a last gasp deal for Moise Caicedo ahead of deadline day and have been given the green light by owner Stan Kroenke to get the deal over the line. That is even if it means paying a club record fee. I mean, technically, wouldn't 75 million be a record fee, or is that dead? Is that identical to Pepe, or wasn't he 70? So who knows, people? There's an acknowledgement at Arsenal that as much as they want Moise Caicedo, they don't want to disrespect Brighton and have started analysing alternatives, with Jorginho emerging as their preferred option. Yuri Telemans and Onana have also been explored, people. So hopefully it's calm before the storm. But whether we sign him or not, it is what it is. Gunners board believe Leicester may change Yuri Telemans' stance. Not if they've accepted him busting out, but who knows, people. What has exactly been said? TalkSport reports that due to Brighton's stance on Caicedo, it could mean Arsenal make a move for Telemans. The outlet notes that Arsenal's hierarchy believe Leicester could be tempted to cash in on the midfielder to avoid losing him on a free in the summer. They're going to lose Ciencio allegedly as well. 90 Minute reported earlier that the Gunners are indeed considering making a last-ditch move for Telemans due to their struggles in negotiations over Caicedo. He has been in good form. I'm not too sure anyone wants to see that his missed penalty in the highlights of Leicester's last game. Ivan Fresnadar is set to stay at Real Valladolid, people, despite Arsenal and Dortmund interest, people. So, yeah, it is what it is. Arsenal have not considered Fresnadar's position a priority in this window and have been content to let the situation play out until the summer. So I have to see. Young Marquinhos is set to join Norwich on loan, people, for the rest of the season. Good for him to go and get some senior minutes and have to show his consistency in performances and in games every other couple of days, because as you know, there's a lot of games to play in the Championship. So we're going to have to see how that one develops, people. But that's what the outlets are saying. And, you know, we're in for a long day, whether it's Jorginho, Caicedo, this guy, that guy, or the third. Because fundamentally, no one's walked through the doors. I hope we wake up and something's done. If Brighton sell us Caicedo, they can